Okay, so you get arrested, and do you actually get sentenced?
No, I was fighting the case for about, a while. I was
Okay.
actually I had a public defender at the time. And so she says, all right, Joe, don't worry about it. I'll get you out of here. So I asked her to finally try to get me 2 years or whatever. She says, first she says, you get me 3. I said, see if they go for the 2. I mean, I'll do the deal right now. So she says, well, maybe I could do the 3, but then she came back. It was a little harder. So then I hired Bruce Bendish from White Plains.
So while you're sitting in jail awaiting the trial, the FBI meets up with you.
What happened was after I hired Bruce Bendish, we went to court and Bruce says, I need to go over the case. We need about several months to go over it. So naturally, and it was okay because he said it, and you probably noticed yourself, after you're sitting in jail, you're doing the time, it all gets counted to whatever time you do get or not, or whatever. So it's okay. It wasn't that bad. But that's when I got moved from Otisville, New York to MCC, New York. And I was actually facing a superseding indictment because they arrested my uncle, and they put me with him in the loan sharking business. Somebody ratted on him and me at the same time, whatever. So I had to take a superseding, and that's what I thought I was there for. Well, lo and behold, I'm in there, and Vic Amuso was in there. He was the boss of the Lucchese family. And I met him in Otisville. Somebody said that he was too high profile to be in Otisville, but he was in Otisville. I met him. Matter of fact, I know because I talked to him. That's how I met him. I didn't even meet him in the street. Well, I'm going there, and I'm with this guy, Mikey Shades, and we go there to the bus to MCC. And who was there was Vic. And he goes, hey, I said, hey, Vic, how you doing? I didn't know who he was. I just thought he was an old-timer guy. Look, I'm supposed to know people. I didn't know him. Mm-hmm. I go into the cell with Mikey Shades, and Mikey says to me, he says, wow, you never believe it by looking at him. I says, no, you don't. I'm going along with it. I don't want to like I'm a dope. He says, this guy, he get rid of you like that. I went, oh, shit. So now I'm thinking like, okay. So I'm talking to him he's going to trial and everything. He says, look, Joey, he had like that real hard accent. He says, Joey, he says, look, he says, I'm going to be on a trial. He says, I'm not going to be around all day. He says, but I don't want nobody sitting at this table. I'm going to give you the combination to my locker, and anything you want, you help yourself. He says, I said, no, Vic, I'll wait for you to come home. So I would make meals for him or get other meals for him when he came home, which he had already, but we got close. Well, sure enough, now they're going to interview me, which I had no idea about. He calls me. I said, what's up, Vic? He said, look, he says, the FBI is going to come see you. And he says, you sit there, you listen, and that's it. He says, at the end of everything, he says, you tell him, I love to help you, but I'm not even in a position to help myself. Now, this is a real wise guy telling me this, okay? And I still, after all these years, never forgot that. And I said, okay, Vic. I still took it like on the chin. But sure enough, I go to the bullpen. I'm thinking I'm going to court. I don't think he's right. I figure he's making this up. Well, I'm walking down this hallway with the marshals, and 3 guys are over there. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 guys were at the end of the hallway. They said, okay, you got to go with them now. I went, okay. And I walked, and they grabbed me, and they brought me into the room. And that's when I saw my attorney, the U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney, which was Benjamin Rosenberg, I believe his name was. He has his own practice now, from what I understand. And the 2 agents, Michael Harkins and Vincent Pizzuti. And that's when everything took place. I says, well, can you do me a favor? Can I have a minute with my attorney? They said, yeah. They walked out of the room because it was like a room, well, no windows, nothing like that. They weren't going to worry about me jumping out. Anyways, I said, Bruce, what's going on? He says, Joe, they called me last night, told me I had to be here today. I says, okay. I said, well, I don't want to talk to these people. He says, what do you got to do, Joe? You got nothing to... Yeah, Bruce is very funny.
Do you have other plans?
Yeah, exactly. He says, you sit here, you listen a little bit. I says, all right, Bruce, all right. So he called them back in. They came back in. They said, listen, Joe, we want to talk to you. I said, okay. And then they says, oh, would you mind you want to come move your handcuffs to the front? I said, sure. They moved it to the front. He started talking to me, Joe, this kind of life, blah, 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 blah. All the baloney that they give you. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to it, one ear out the other. And then finally they said, Joe, we'd like to show you something. That's the reason why they moved my hand to the front. And they showed me a stack of photos of the cemetery of my father with the autopsy, and everything was about this thick. And that's when it all started for me.
So they're basically telling you, if you cooperate, they'll tell you how your father died?
They didn't tell me because they still didn't know. The only thing that they knew about was like what we previously discussed about. They said there was 3 men, and that my father never took them back to his villa. Okay, he had a villa I didn't even know about. But he would always meet them in the mall. When I think of Honduras, I'm thinking of grass huts and everything. I don't even know it's built up like a city. But anyway, he would always meet them in the mall. And they said, but this particular time, he took them back to his villa. And then we went to go arrest him that Sunday, and we found him on the floor dead. So that kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no proof of any of this. But isn't that kind of coincidental?
Yeah.
Did somebody else know that my father was going to be visited by the FBI and did kill him not to talk? Or did he really just die because he had a bad heart?
Yeah.
Vad, I don't know. But that changed my whole, I was furious.
So you decided to cooperate with the FBI because of what happened to your father?
That's correct. Now, I didn't do it at that second. I was too emotional. I'm not going to lie. I was sad. I was crying. They left the room. I was there with my attorney. I was sad. I was brokenhearted. I thought about it for a while, and I was angry. And I got really angry. So Bruce came to see me again. I went back. I got shipped out of MCC, I think, before I saw them again. I went back to Otisville, and then I told Bruce, I says, okay, let me see what they got to say for me. And so that's when I had an interview with them, and they give you all the, we can't really do much for you, but we'll tell the judge of anything that you cooperated and helped us in any way, or this kind of stuff. And, we can lower your sentence, because I think I was facing 10 years in the beginning because of once you, having a gun is bad. I think was an offense. Scratching the serial numbers off is another federal crime, and all of this other stuff.
Okay. So you agree to work with the feds?
Yes.
So in the world of the mafia, you now become a rat.
Correct.
How did that sit with you, considering that your dad was a made man, your grandfather, your mother's side? These are all, hardcore mafia guys who never did that. And now you're doing it.
That's right.
How did that sit with you?
Not well. If it sat well with me, I could sit here and say to you, I don't care, or it doesn't mean anything. But at the time, I felt like, look, I still get bad dreams of it. I'm still in counseling, still seeing a therapist. I still have PTSD. I still have everything, all because of this cooperation. And it's not because I liked it or whatever. I didn't want to go against some people I knew, of course, obviously, but it wasn't who I was. I would have, if my mother and father was alive, I would have never cooperated with anybody. But this seemed to be, at my time, at that frame of mind, that was the only way I could find out maybe who killed my father. Because it wasn't like I was going to be able to walk up to a wise guy and say, hey, you know who killed my father? It's not a kind of a question, do you know what really happened to my father? This is not something you do. And as a matter of fact, if you asked my captain at that time, Dominic Sicali, he'd tell you straight out, I never asked him one question about anything. Because you don't do that.
Okay, so now you're working with the feds, and you start feeding them information about what's going on in the prison.
In the prison, yes.
Okay. And the feds want to know who killed a capo named Ralphie
Coppola.
Mm-hmm. And you actually helped out on this.
I told them what I knew about it, yeah.
And that was?
Well, basically, the two guys are still out there. They're I think one of them's a captain in the Genovese family. One, I think, is still a soldier. But Ralphie Coppola I grew up with Ralphie. Ralphie and I had fights together, and he was way tougher than me. Actually could have been, I know you're not going to believe this, but he actually could have been a professional baseball player. All right, a talent scout came to see him and wanted him, but he wanted to be a gangster. Ralphie was a good-looking guy, good with his hands, but what happened was he just took that road. Well, he thought he was doing some things I had heard later on. I don't know how true it is, but he was skimming money. Supposedly, he was actually nervous about it. His sister was nervous about it. Well, they called him down. I made a joke about it a little bit to kind of like ease my mind a little bit, because I says to the FBI when I told him, I said they thought he thought he was going to get bumped up, but instead he got bumped off, because they thought he was going to probably become a captain because he was so far up Barney's ass. They used to make fun of my father. Used to make fun of him because Barney Balamo was their boss, and they used to, like, if they would all go out to dinner and everything, they used to say, leave that seat for Ralphie because he likes to be close to Barney because he was so far up his ass. And I don't blame him. Barney was that kind of guy, but needless to say, he never came back. They never found him. And
Okay.
nobody talks about it.
Well, there was also a double homicide with a guy named Eddie Kavanaugh.
Eddie Kavanaugh, yeah.
Okay. What was that situation?
So, and let me also just add this, if I may. When I did stuff like in the prison and stuff like that, and even with Eddie, what I'm about to tell you, I didn't know these people. So to me, I wasn't hurting anybody I knew, but I figured it was still a way to get closer. You know what I mean? And so I don't say that that's making it right or wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to justify things. I'm just saying it the way it is. Eddie Kavanaugh, for me, I got a little kind of talking to him and everything like that. He was with another guy, Ralph Giordano, in the prison. Ralph Giordano got the funeral home in the Bronx, too. Eddie's from the Bronx. Used to hang around with a guy, Bobby Blue Eyes. Well, Eddie told me about he told me what he was in there for and what happened in the whole 9 yards. And he was dealing a lot of drugs, and he was going to whack these two guys. This guy was a drug dealer with him. It was actually one guy. And this guy, Bobby, not Bobby, but one of his friends wanted to take the ride with him. And he said, no, don't come. Don't worry about me. Just go with this guy by myself. Well, the guy insisted. Well, unfortunately, they took him to, the guys got shot in a driveway where two of my friends live, actually. Because, they all were there. There was a state trooper barracks there, a Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and New Rochelle police, and of course now DEA and ATF, because it's all in one, right there in Larchmont, New York, borderline of Larchmont, New Rochelle. It's like crazy the way if you got one side of the street is one thing and one side is the other one. This is how stupid the mail code is. But he put 2 bullets in him, but his friend, he shot his own friend too because he was there and he didn't want to leave him as a witness. But he told me that the shot was so loud he couldn't hear. He jogged up the block. The blood was all over his white sweatsuit. He took the sweatsuit off. He called his girlfriend. She came, picked him up, gave him a change of clothes, and that was the end of that. And unfortunately, I told the FBI that.